1. Humble beginnings and an entrepreneurial childhood. Gary Vaynerchuk, known today as Gary Vee, was born in 1975 in Belarus, back when it was part of the Soviet Union. When he was just 3 years old, his family emigrated to the United States with big dreams and very little money. Their real luggage was a relentless work ethic, an essential ingredient for Gary's future. The family's first months were spent in a tiny apartment in Queens, New York, where Gary remembers it was so cramped that if you turned too quickly, you'd probably bump your elbow on the fridge. Before long, they moved to New Jersey, where his father started at the bottom as a clerk in a liquor store. Years later, he managed to buy that very store, marking the Vaynerchuks' first major victory in America. Gary, however, didn't need long to discover his own passion, making money from anything he could. By the age of 7, he was running multiple lemonade stands at once, effectively creating his own miniature franchise. As he likes to joke, he invented Uber Eats long before Uber existed, only he was delivering lemonade and paying his employees in chewing gum.
How old were you when you became successful?
6.
And how did you determine being successful at 6 years old?
I made $11.75 selling lemonade, and it felt like I had $1 billion to my name.
What's your best piece of advice to someone watching this video who's starting a business at home today?
There's two real core things that you have to do. One, I believe that most people do businesses to get money, and that's why they fail. If you're doing it to get money, you're gonna take shortcuts, you're gonna do shit you don't give a fuck about. Second, you've got to tune out noise.
So what's your best advice you'd give someone like me trying to get into social media?
To give a fuck about every platform. Your biggest growth is probably going to happen on Snapchat Spotlight, but you're not even thinking about that because everyone's too Instagram and TikTok obsessed. YouTube Shorts, Facebook, Snapchat Spotlight, X, all these other platforms really matter too. So become more diverse on more platforms.
A lot of people I interview, I always ask them, who's the wealthiest person you've been in a room with? And what's one lesson you picked up from being in the room with them? I'd have to say you're the wealthiest person I've been in the room with. What's one lesson you want to give me so I can tell the next person asking me that question?
That the shit that I spew on social that you've seen about patience, like I was 34 working in my dad's liquor store. You could live an entire another life as you are right now, your entire life again, and be the age that I was at when I first started actually building the shit you now know about. You've got way more fucking time than you realize, and if you realize that, everything slows down. So you know how in sports, like real legends talk about when the sport slowed down? If you guys slowed it down and weren't so anxious to make it, it would make you better at getting there. And so honestly, just take some pressure. Like, ambition's amazing, and you've got it. So I've seen it.
You see me before?
Bro, you saw that I commented on it. You just need to like give yourself grace to give yourself time to get there.
Age is the most important thing I have.
It's the biggest advantage you have on someone like me all those years. Like, enjoy them, let them be your partner. And the biggest way to do that is to not worry about what other people think about your success or not success.
Where can they find you on social media?
Gary Vee.
Thank you so much.
Beyond lemonade, he collected and sold baseball cards, pulling in hundreds of dollars on a weekend, a serious haul for a kid. Whenever someone told him he was too young for business, Gary's comeback was legendary. Maybe, but my wallet's bigger than yours. Behind the childhood jokes was pure entrepreneurial instinct. Gary wasn't just making money, he was reading the market, spotting which cards sold best, choosing the most strategic locations for his stands, and learning how to negotiate prices. As he likes to put it, he was a born hustler. This early chapter, shaped by his parents' hard work and his own small ventures, became the foundation for everything that followed. While other kids were dreaming of becoming firefighters or astronauts, Gary was already imagining how to become an investor. 2. Transforming the family business, wine library. At 14, Gary didn't get a car or a new computer. He got a work apron in his father's liquor store in Springfield, New Jersey. While his friends spent their summers at the pool, Gary was hauling wine boxes and mastering the art of sales. His favorite joke about those years? I lifted so many cases, I basically got a free 5-year gym membership. The real revolution began a few years later. In 1996, Gary spotted the internet's potential. He launched WineLibrary.com, one of the very first online wine retail platforms in the US. Back then, it sounded almost like science fiction. Selling wine on the internet? Seriously, Gary? But his vision was spot on. Within a few years, he transformed the family shop from roughly $3 million in annual revenue to over $60 million.
As a 22-year-old kid, worked for my parents' business for 12 years, every day, every Saturday, gave up my entire social life during my 20s, which is the prime, took my family business from a $3 to a $65 million business, and then left at 34 years old with no money because I poured all the money back into the business, and I owned 0.0% of the business. So I came, I did my thing, I changed the course of my parents' financial life, and then I was ready to do my own thing at 34 with nothing. So when people are impatient at 26, I laugh because I only started at 34. For me, because the first 12 years was for them. And so I knew that was right from the get because that was my mission.
His secret? Digital marketing before it was even a buzzword. Gary started a daily wine vlog, Wine Library TV, where instead of stiff sommelier-style talk, he spoke with humor and total authenticity.
Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of Wine Library TV. I am Gary Vaynerchuk, Director of Operations here at Wine Library at winelibrary.com, and I am very proud to launch what we think is the first video wine blog. We've been talking about doing a blog here at Wine Library for a long time. We just realized that we had too much text out there between the website and pounding you with 4 or 5 emails a day, as I know we are. It just became something that we thought a blog would just...
Wine Library became more than a store. It turned into a real-time marketing laboratory. Gary tested everything: email campaigns, early SEO tactics, even live streaming long before going live was standard on social platforms. He effectively turned a local liquor shop into a digital marketing test kitchen. This phase became his launchpad. It proved he could do far more than sell wine. He could scale a brand from the ground up. And once Wine Library was thriving, Gary felt the itch for the next big challenge. As he likes to say, when something's working, that's the perfect time to start something even crazier. Having successfully fermented the family business, Gary was ready to pour a new vintage into his career glass. Global scale digital marketing, the foundation of what would become VaynerMedia. 3. Breaking into digital marketing, the birth of VaynerMedia. After turning Wine Library into an online phenomenon, Gary Vee could have taken a long vacation. Reality? Zero chance. For him, the perfect break meant starting another company. As he likes to joke, some people relax with yoga. I relax by building companies. Others do breathing exercises. I make pitch decks. In 2009, together with his brother AJ, Gary founded VaynerMedia, a marketing agency built for the new digital era. The timing was perfect. Big brands were still clinging to TV ads and print banners, while Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube were becoming cultural powerhouses. Gary saw the shift and essentially said, people's attention has moved to their phones. Let's get there before everyone else. With no outside funding, VaynerMedia started out in a borrowed conference room because they literally couldn't afford rent. That story became legend. Early campaigns for giants like Pepsi and GE were crafted in a space they had to vacate whenever someone else booked it.
I did a meeting at ESPN. They paid me $5,000 for an hour, which blew my head off. I thought it was the most money of all time. There was an opportunity that nobody knew what was about to happen with social. And I called my brother, he was still in college, after this ESPN meeting. And I said, I think I have an idea. Because we knew we were going to start a business together. We'd always been entrepreneurial together. And we started VaynerMedia. What we did at first was brands like Campbell's Soup and the NHL and PepsiCo. My brother's laptop literally created the Facebook and Twitter accounts for those clients. Our original premise of the business was create social media accounts and community manage. So it was a lot of community management at first, and then obviously it evolved into what it is today.
The results came fast. Within 4 years, VaynerMedia topped $100 million in revenue and grew to more than 600 employees, running campaigns for household names like PepsiCo, Under Armour, GE, and Toyota. Gary explained the success simply. We don't buy attention. We know where attention is going. A key driver of that success was Gary's willingness to bet early on emerging platforms. While competitors debated whether Facebook was worth the effort, VaynerMedia was already creating innovative campaigns there. Later, he doubled down on Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok long before they went mainstream. Those early moves brought in major clients and cemented Gary's reputation as the entrepreneur who spots trends years ahead. Inside the agency, his full-throttle style built a unique culture. In the early days, Gary might be found pitching Fortune 500 clients 1 minute and literally moving furniture the next to make room for new hires. As employees like to say, the CEO was also the chief furniture mover when needed. VaynerMedia became more than a company. It was a blueprint for how advertising would work in the smartphone era. By moving quickly and speaking the language of new media, the agency proved that brands who adapt slowly risk irrelevance, while those who act fast can dominate cultural conversations. Within just a few years, Gary was no longer the wine guy who made it online. He had evolved into a thought leader of the digital marketing revolution, the strategist Fortune 500 executives turned to for a glimpse of the future. And for Gary, this was nowhere near the finish line, just the first chapter in building an even bigger empire, VaynerX. 4. VaynerX, expanding a communications empire. For many entrepreneurs, the success of VaynerMedia would have been the career high point. For Gary Vee, it was just an appetizer. As he likes to joke, the moment I hit a goal, I'm already thinking about the next one. It's like finishing a marathon and immediately signing up for another, only instead of water, I'm chugging double espressos. While VaynerMedia was becoming a global player, Gary decided to broaden the menu of services. The result? VaynerX, a modern communications holding company designed as an ecosystem where major brands can find everything they need in one place, from strategy and content production to e-commerce and data analytics. Under the VaynerX umbrella, a family of specialized companies quickly took shape. The Sasha Group, built to help small and mid-sized businesses play big. Gary jokes it's the agency for people who don't yet have a Super Bowl budget but definitely have Super Bowl dreams. Gallery Media Group, a digital publisher running platforms like 137 PM and Pure Wow, online magazines built for modern audiences. Vayner Production focused on cinematic quality video and audio content. Tracer, a tech company that aggregates and interprets data so brands know not just what their customers are doing, but why. VaynerCommerce, next-generation e-commerce solutions. Vayner Speakers, a speakers bureau, including Gary himself, that takes their ideas to stages worldwide. Each piece operates independently, yet together they snap into place like business Lego bricks, creating a powerful ecosystem. In just a few years, VaynerX surpassed $300 million in annual revenue and opened offices across multiple continents, from New York and Los Angeles to London, Singapore, and Latin America. Not bad for a venture that began in a borrowed conference room.
You have time. At 34 years old, when I started VaynerMedia, and now it's VaynerX, and at the revenue we're at, it's a billion-dollar company if I was to sell it today. It's a big-ass fucking company. That's what I actually do. When everyone's like, what does Gary Vee actually do? What the fuck's he do? I'm like, do you not know that I run a 1,500-person global...
Your office.
Like, I have a real company.
Multiple
like,
floors.
Gary Vee is my side hustle. Gary Vaynerchuk runs an actual business, but when I started Vayner, when I was 34 years old, because I was building my dad's business, and because in family business you don't get paid, I had no fucking money. I started VaynerMedia in Buddy Media's conference room because I didn't want to have any rent fee at 34. If you're sitting and watching right now and you're 28 and you don't have shit, you can get shit. Just because you're 31 but your buddy's making $1 million on NFTs or your best friend's girl's making $4 million on TikTok, you don't have to feel like a piece of shit. We're in the first quarter. Just because you're not winning at 23 or 27 or 32, you're not finished. And by the way, what's winning?
Well, when is it time to panic?
70?
What truly sets VaynerX apart isn't only its size but the speed of innovation. Gary and his team are constantly testing new platforms and formats, from TikTok to Web3 to AI, to stay ahead of where attention is heading. As Gary puts it, if you're just now learning Instagram, we're already thinking about the platform that will be cool after Instagram becomes your parents' app. Today, VaynerX is far more than a large agency. It's a global hub for ideas and execution, proving that modern advertising is no longer about TV spots, but about creative content, smart data, and the courage to show up first wherever the audience moves next. And in classic Gary Vee fashion, even after building a global holding company, he simply asked, okay, what do we invent today? Paving the way for bold new investments, emerging brands, and future ventures that continue to surprise. 5. Businesses beyond the agency, Reci, empathy wines, and more. If there were a diet made for Gary Vee, it would probably be called Startup All You Can Eat. Why? Because while most people focus on a single company, Gary treats entrepreneurship like an endless buffet. I like to taste everything as long as I can scale the servings. After VaynerMedia and VaynerX hit full speed, Gary began diversifying his portfolio far beyond marketing. Some of his most notable ventures include Resy. In 2014, alongside Ben Leventhal, co-founder of Eater, Gary launched this high-end restaurant reservation platform. The goal? To create a cooler, smoother alternative to old-school phone bookings. By 2019, American Express acquired Resy for a 9-figure sum, proving the concept wasn't just stylish, it was wildly profitable. Empathy Wines. In 2019, Gary returned to his first love, wine. But this time, he applied next-level e-commerce strategies. Empathy sold direct to consumer, cutting out middlemen and running 100% on digital marketing. Within a year, the brand caught the eye of Constellation Brands, which acquired it in 2020. Gary had once again proven he could sell wine just as effectively without standing behind a counter. Vayner Sports. For those who think sports and business don't mix, Gary and his brother AJ proved otherwise. Their athlete management agency quickly became a force, representing players across the NFL, MLB, and other major leagues. A perfect blend of Gary's love of sports and his talent for deal-making. Fly Fish Club. What if an exclusive restaurant isn't exclusive enough? You make it NFT only. In 2021, Gary co-founded this private dining club in New York, where the quality of the menu competes only with the size of your crypto wallet. His running joke, reserve a table with a blockchain code. My grandma is still trying to figure out how to get in. And the list doesn't stop there. From hospitality projects to Web3 experiments, Gary sticks to the same core philosophy: rapid testing, aggressive scaling, and smart exits. What's impressive isn't just the diversity of these ventures, but the way Gary applies the same winning playbook every time. A sharp instinct for trends, world-class digital marketing, and lightning-fast execution. While others spend years debating, he launches, tests, and, if the moment is right, sells. These moves prove Gary is far more than an agency guy. He's a serial entrepreneur who can spin ideas from wildly different industries into thriving, profitable businesses. As he jokes, if I found out tomorrow there's a market for NFT French fries, I'd probably launch a company by lunch. Behind the humor lies a serious point. Every project doubles as a business masterclass. For Gary, even a bottle of wine or an exclusive dining club becomes a testbed for marketing, brand building, and innovation, the very skills that prepare him for his next big bets. 6. Visionary tech investor, spotting unicorns before they exist. If you think Gary Vee is content just running his own companies, think again. In the world of tech investing, he's like a digital treasure hunter, always scouting the next big discovery. Back in the early 2000s, when most people were still debating whether social media would even survive, Gary was already putting serious money on the table. He became an early investor in companies that now define the internet: Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Snapchat, Uber, Venmo, and many more. He bet on these giants long before they were cool or even known. The payoff? Spectacular exits and a reputation for having a radar tuned years ahead of the market. A legendary example, his prediction that Facebook would buy Instagram. When Instagram had just 15 million users, Gary said on a TV show, "Zuckerberg is going to grab this, guaranteed." People laughed, until Facebook acquired Instagram for $1 billion, and those same people had to admit, oh, he wasn't joking.
Facebook's volume has a lot to do with photos. If you look at this overall, and a lot of people at home are like $1 billion for a site that's been around for 500 days that makes no money, fine. But look at it a different way. Facebook takes 1% of their market cap and goes after a site that has exploded in 500 days to probably almost 50 million users. 30 last time, but with Android exploded. And they take out the only competitor that actually has a shot of hurting them.
So has
and
Mark
brings it in
Zuckerberg done this because he sees this as a brilliant new tool to enhance Facebook, or to crush a potential opponent by buying them out of the market?
I think number 2 much more than number 1. I think he's going to leave it alone. Everybody's like scared. If you look at Twitter today, everybody's like, don't ruin Instagram. They're not going to ruin it. This is much more like YouTube. When Google bought YouTube, everybody snickered at the $1 billion play. They stole it. I think there's a chance people may look at it this way.
That same instinct helped him foresee the podcast boom. He even called Joe Rogan's massive Spotify deal and the meteoric rise of TikTok. While others dismissed TikTok as a dancing and meme app, Gary already saw a global advertising platform in the making. In 2011, he co-founded Vayner/RSE, an investment fund built to back promising startups before they hit the radar of big venture capital firms. True to his style, Gary prefers to get his hands dirty. "I don't just write checks, I'll pick up the phone at 2 a.m. if that's what a founder needs." What makes him stand out is that he doesn't rely on luck. He tracks consumer attention, where it moves and how habits shift, and invests accordingly. When everyone else was stuck on desktop, Gary was already on mobile. When others clung to Facebook, he was exploring TikTok and Web3. Of course, not every bet was a winner. Gary freely admits to having a collection of expensive flops. But his philosophy is simple. If you hit 3 home runs, nobody cares how many strikeouts you had. Judging by his portfolio, he's hit far more than 3. In short, if Gary Vee calls you to say your new app is going to blow up the internet, you'd better listen. History shows his intuition would make even Wall Street jealous. And no, he did not call yesterday to say MySpace is coming back. That thing's been dead for years. Just kidding. Or maybe not. 7. Best-selling author, podcaster, and global speaker. If you think Gary Vee stops at building companies and creating daily content, think again. Add best-selling author, top podcaster, and global keynote speaker to the list. Honestly, the guy seems to have more hours in a day than the rest of us combined. He and Johnny Sins might be the only 2 people who can pull off this many careers, except Gary's hustle is all business. Since 2009, Gary has published 5 New York Times bestsellers, each one quickly becoming a must-read for entrepreneurs and creators. Crush It! A manifesto on turning passion into profit, the thank you economy. On the power of gratitude and real customer relationships. Jab, 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 right hook. A masterclass in giving value before asking for the sale. Hashtag Ask Gary Vee. A Q&A collection pulled straight from his daily grind. Crushing It. Stories and strategies for scaling a personal brand in the social era. These aren't fluffy motivational reads. They're practical playbooks. Many readers say it feels like Gary is talking directly to them, complete with his trademark punchy expressions and real-world tactics. On the audio side, the Gary Vee audio experience is among the most downloaded business podcasts worldwide. Episodes mix high-energy interviews with top founders, raw conference clips, and rapid-fire fan Q&As. In typical Gary fashion, he can pivot from a deep marketing insight to a joke about his beloved New York Jets in under 30 seconds. And when it comes to live stages, Gary Vee is a crowd magnet. He's delivered keynotes everywhere from Web Summit to SXSW to boardrooms of Fortune 500 companies. What sets him apart is his delivery. He never reads from a script. Instead, he talks like he's sharing dinner with the entire room. Funny, unscripted, and laser-focused on action. Audiences leave not just with selfies, but with a concrete plan to execute.
Not building brand on the digital platforms of today is completely unacceptable. And before some classic dog raised their hands and says, "Gary, I didn't grow up with this shit. That's why I'm not doing it," I want to remind everybody in this room, none of us grew up with this shit. And more importantly, the customer doesn't care that you were born in 1964 or 1952 or 49 or 92. You didn't grow up driving, you figured it out. And before you offsource this to your 23-year-old niece, because she's young, I want to remind you that if this is your business, it is now as important, in one man's opinion, I could be wrong, it's as important to understand this as it is to balance your checkbook. If your business and company does not understand contemporary communication, it is far more vulnerable than you think.
Those who've seen him live describe his keynotes as a mix of entrepreneurial adrenaline and stand-up comedy with a purpose. One moment he's dropping tactics on TikTok growth, the next he's telling heartfelt stories of his immigrant childhood, all with humor and brutal honesty. Books, podcasts, and keynotes aren't just side projects. They're core to Gary's strategy of owning his narrative and staying omnipresent with a single message. Work hard, think long-term, and trust the power of personal brand. As he often says, if you don't tell your story, someone else will, and they probably won't tell it the way you want. Today, whether you're reading him on the subway, listening in your car, or watching him light up a global stage, Gary Vee delivers the same impact. He makes you believe your idea can become reality, but only if you start working on it today, not next Monday. 8. Current status in 2025, net worth, influence, and new frontiers. Gary Vaynerchuk is no longer the wine guy or the dude who cracked Instagram marketing. By 2025, he stands as a global business and media leader, an entrepreneur who blends smart investing with massive cultural reach. His net worth is estimated at around $200 million, built not on gimmicky courses or one-off viral hits, but on real, diversified ventures. VaynerX Group, which surpassed $300 million in annual revenue in 2024 and remains solidly profitable. Early stakes in tech giants like Facebook, Uber, Twitter, Snapchat, and Venmo, investments that matured into industry-defining wins. Major exits, such as selling Resi to American Express and Empathy Wines to Constellation Brands. This isn't YouTube money, it's business empire money. And Gary hasn't slowed down. If anything, he's accelerating into new technological frontiers. NFTs and Web3 through projects like VFriends, his pioneering NFT collection, and Fly Fish Club, the world's first members-only dining experience accessible exclusively via token. Artificial intelligence, a topic he hammers on repeatedly, urging entrepreneurs to embrace AI with excitement, but also with a clear head. Augmented reality, AR, with early bets on smart glasses and AR ecosystems, which he sees as the next major platform, potentially the successor to the smartphone.
I'm very obsessed with AI influencers. I think influencer marketing is a monster, and I think just as it's getting into its heyday, I see the next thing that's going to disrupt it, which is I'm predicting that the combination of what Disney does, right? Intellectual property, Snow White, The Lion King, Cinderella, and what influencers do, Alex Earl, Mr. Beast, is going to come into one. Fake people, AI people, are going to be some of the biggest influencers in the world in 10 years, and companies and humans are going to own those people, and it's going to be huge. There'll be more AI influencers than there are humans, meaning attempted AI influencers. In 10, 15 years, there'll probably be way more than 8 billion AI humans all trying to become influencers to monetize the way influencers do, and that's going to be fascinating to watch.
For Gary, each of these arenas represents the next big wave of consumer attention, and he insists on catching it on day one. Then there's the dream he never stops talking about, buying the New York Jets. With the NFL franchise now valued north of $5 billion, he still needs more capital and the right partners. But he treats it as inevitable. I don't know when, but I know it will happen. I'd rather dream huge and die trying than dream small and get there. Beyond the spreadsheets, Gary's influence is unmatched. His keynotes sell out fast, his podcast dominates global charts, and his media company First Playbook is now studied and applied by thousands of companies. Even Fortune 500 executives watch his every move. When Gary predicts Platform X is about to blow up, entire marketing budgets shift overnight. What sets him apart in 2025 isn't just a $200 million net worth, but the way he built it. Real work, long-term vision, no shortcuts, no fake guru hacks. He remains fiercely consistent in his mantra: macro patience, micro speed. Be patient with the big goals, but move fast every single day. In short, Gary Vaynerchuk enters 2025 not merely as a successful entrepreneur, but as a driving force shaping the future of business, technology, and digital culture, proving once again that attention, when paired with execution, is the most valuable currency of all. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Gary Vaynerchuk's life and lessons, don't let the story stop here. Hit the like button. It's the simplest way to tell us you want more inspiring entrepreneur stories like this one. And don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell icon so you're first to know when the next episode drops. We've got more game-changing founders lined up, no boring formulas, just actionable ideas and real inspiration. Got a favorite takeaway from Gary Vee's journey or a concept that really stuck with you? Drop it in the comments. We love hearing how fellow entrepreneurs think. And who knows, your story might inspire a future episode. So, like, subscribe, share with your business-minded friends, and most importantly, put these ideas to work. Because as Gary Vee himself loves to say, ideas are great, but execution pays the bills.